Pastula in the house. Hey, Gene, you heard my monologue before I went to Chris talking about how we as grandparents really should do our very best to protect our assets, because you never know when you need those assets to help take care of a child or a grandchild, or after you're gone, where your kids may need those assets to take care of themselves in a divorce situation, or their kids. You're a grandparent, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah, pretty cool, isn't it?
It is nice. Yeah.
How many grandparents?
Well, I'm kind of waiting until they get, you know, their driver's licenses to really engage.
You know what? I will say this, having raised 4 kids of my own, one of the worst days of my life was when my daughters got their driver's. The boys were fine when the daughters got the driver's licenses. But I'm not going to say any more. All right.
Well, I totally enjoy it. We have a couple of little girls that are just darling.
And how old are they?
2.5 and 4.
All right. Well, mine are 10 down to 5. So, you know.
Well, you're a lot older than I am.
I am not older than you, so let's not go there. All right, because I will out you on age. But in either event, you're in the business of helping people preserve their assets. And I can't think of anything more wonderful than being a grandparent and having the financial resources to be able to help your grandkids. And I can't think of anything worse than not having the resources to be able to help, or to have to say, I can't help you, whether it be with your college funding, or if your daughter or son gets divorced and they've got custody of kids and they can't afford it, they're working 5 jobs. I can't think of anything worse than not being able to help because you can't afford it. You're in a business that can help people mitigate that risk.
Yeah, in fact, you just gave me a brilliant idea that of a problem I've had for years. Because my wife is very involved in nonprofits, and
Yes.
she has to be involved in the community a lot, and there's, you know, cocktail parties and functions and what have you that she that I go with her.
Tag along.
Yeah, exact tag. Yeah, and of course the question is, so what do you do? And well, I'm in the insurance business. Oh, so what do you do? You know, but you know, when they talk to my wife, it's well, I'm president of Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement, that's really great.
You're a wonderful person.
Tell me about. You know, I used to be in junior, and on and on. So I'm trying.
So you're not the life of every
No,
party?
I've been exploring different ways that I can express, you know, what I do. And you just said, I'm going to start telling them I'm in the legacy business. I'm in the legacy business. And
they're going to say, well, what is that?
Exactly. And so one of the things that we talk to are, as you know, my career has been involved in educating financial planners and investment advisors on the things that can be done with insurance and how to do it correctly and all the rest. But it's interesting that when people get to maybe their family is raised or what have you, their concept of whether they need life insurance is or not, basically they say, well, I don't need it anymore, until about 15 years later when they get sick or they have that first little heart attack or whatever. Then all of a sudden, you know, they're interested again, and there's nothing we can do. But interestingly enough, when an advisor is helping his client set up a portfolio to provide income for life and take care of health issues that might come along and leave a legacy, then how they invest the money for all those 3 things is determined by what they're ultimately going to do. And when you want to make sure that you leave a legacy for the grandchildren or the children, either one, that goes against the investment philosophy for leaving a legacy goes against the investment philosophy for generating income or preparing for long-term care or emergency savings and what have you, unless you incorporate a life insurance policy in there. Now, not everybody in these older ages can do this because of health, but the ones that can, if one allocates a certain percentage of his portfolio to a life insurance policy, And now the life insurance companies on their illustrations and their proposals will show you the internal rate of return that is generated by this policy, guaranteed, at every point in time that you might die. Well, most people's life expectancy is in the middle 80s, and the internal rate of return is like 6%, 6.5%. You got to die
That's
at 95.
tax-free,
That's
That's
tax-free. You got to die at 95 to get down to 2. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'd like to get I'd like to live long enough to get it down to 1, Yeah. So anyway, so the life insurance policies can be a tremendous legacy builder.
Gene Pastula, he's our man, and we're going to talk about this legacy building and how you can protect your assets so that you don't drain them in the event of long-term health care, and hopefully leave that legacy. I like that. Gene Pastula in the legacy business. It's not quite as sexy as being the president of Junior Achievement, by the way. We'll be back. Don't go away. It's the Ray Lucia Show. You know, folks, more and more of us grandparents are helping our children raise their grandchildren. An article out of Bloomberg today, how grandchildren botch the best-laid retirement plans. Well, I'm not sure they botch them because I love anyway, my grandkids. Whenever they come over, I have a blast with them. And I got thinking about this as it relates to many of the topics we talk about on this program, and how important it is for us to maintain our assets, if not today, while we're helping potentially raise our kids and grandkids, but replace those assets that I might have to spend in helping to, I raised 4 kids, and we all know it costs, like $250,000 at least to raise a child today, and that doesn't include education, all that stuff. Well, think about having to add 1 or 2 grandkids to that equation at a time when you're no longer working, you're not making money, you're living on a fixed income, you're living off of the investments that you've amassed over the course of your lifetime, and now all of a sudden you look at that portfolio and it's starting to dwindle because that 4% solution, that 4% return that you thought you were going to live off of, now needs to be 7 or 8% because you're taking care of 2 families, not just 1. My in-studio guest, Gene Pastula, is in the legacy business, I learned last segment. Gene, actually, you sell life insurance policies. You help advisors all around the country understand how life insurance policies can have an impact from a financial planning perspective. For younger individuals, the indexed universal life, which is such an interesting concept, can be a wonderful tax-favored retirement plan. I've learned that from you. And you focus on long-term care, insurance, and linked benefits. All of this really, really important in the context of what I just said. Because even though I may be helping, let's say, raise a grandchild or 2, or helping my kids out and tapping into my nest egg, having the right financial instruments in place could, in fact, replace that money so that after I'm gone, the money is there to continue to help the children and the grandchildren, and perhaps by then, the great-grandchildren. I hadn't thought about it until I read this article, but I think what you do is a very, very noble business.
Yeah, I do too. It just doesn't go well at cocktail parties.
Well, you were talking about that before. You know, Gene's wife is the president of Junior Achievement in Southern California, and of course is very, very popular. I've known her I knew her, I think, before I knew you. But you said she was with the Girl Scouts before that?
You knew my wife before you knew me.
Well, no, I didn't know your wife before I knew you. I knew of her.
Okay.
Okay. Because I was a Girl Scout. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So you deal, though, in a product that solves a lot of problems. If I end up spending a lot of my wealth while I'm going through the retire phase, whether it be on myself and my wife, and in our case, with 4 children and 5 grandchildren, I don't care. I will sacrifice anything to help them, even if it means going, should I say this, without a meal? Tough for an Italian to really come to grips with that. But yes, even if it means that. but you've given me the opportunity now to not worry as much about the legacy, because if I pass on, or I should say when, because it's not a matter of if, when I pass on, even if Jeannie and I have spent our assets down to zero, the insurance policies, the linked benefits and all that still is a legacy replacement. I love that idea.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting when you think about the whole idea of finance and investing and all the rest of the stuff, particularly when you get to a place where you're preparing for retirement or you're in retirement, the whole concept changes from earlier on, where you're investing for what reason? To become wealthy, to grow your wealth,
Sure.
to get more money, get what have you. That's the thing. Oh, and maybe to reduce your taxes somewhat, or help that issue. But when you get to the point where you're talking about retiring or you're in retirement, the whole thing changes. And people don't naturally think about this, but now it's not about just, you're not trying to get wealthier for the most part. You want to make sure that your income lasts as long as you do. You want to make sure that there's plenty there to take care of you if you get chronically ill and need to have help and what have you that isn't covered by Medicare and the like. And you want to leave a legacy behind for your children. Now, what does a stockbroker do or a financial planner do to build your wealth relative to each one of those things? Okay, well, all he's doing is giving you more money, maybe, or hopefully. But when you talk about those, that's what insurance all does. Insurance products in the industry, they make sure that you have money to pay for your health, for health care. They provide specific strategies so that you can't outlive your money. And they provide strategies so that you can leave a defined legacy. And so it's amazing. Now, I'm not saying that everybody stop investing and buy insurance products, but what I am saying is that if you're not looking at these things and understanding how they can solve the issues that you have, then you're missing out. We talked the last time I was on the show about my eating my own cooking, and you read a thing that I talked about where literally I have every one of these issues addressed. And of course, I've been working on them for years, so the people at the cocktail parties, they don't get it, and I just sort of snickered at myself because I knew and they didn't. But basically, at this point in time now, I have in place things that will make sure that when I need convalescent care or chronic care, people to take care of me, there's money there to do that. I know that my income, I'm going to get a paycheck in addition to the other Social Security and stuff I have. It's going to come in every single month, regardless of what happens to the price of oil or the market or the Middle East or whatever. It's going to be there, and it will last for the rest of my life. And I have in place a known amount of money that I know will go to my children when both my wife and I have passed away. And that's all in place. Now, when I'm investing, I don't care. Well, I care what the market does, but not really. It doesn't give me stress.
All right, when we come back from the break, I'm going to talk to Mr. Gene Pastula about an idea that I have for me. So make sure you stick around. 844-RAY show. And it really is an idea that if you can afford it, I think every grandparent should do this. What is that idea? You got to stick around. I'm not going to tell you. We're going to go to a little newsy break. And when we come back, prepare for something that's really, really cool. And I thought it up my bad self. Welcome back, folks. The Ray Lucia Show. Emails at raylucia.com, RAYLUCIA.com. We'll get to those momentarily. And phone lines are open if you'd like to talk with Gene Pastula about your own legacy and leaving a legacy for your kids and your grandkids. 844-RAY show. Okay, Gene, before the break, I teased one of my ideas. I have talked about this, a year or two ago on the air. I haven't pulled the trigger. You talked earlier about not pulling the trigger. Why is it that we can't pull the trigger on stuff like this? So I dreamed up this idea. And I have, like I said, 5 grandkids. What goes through my brain every single day? I turn on the television set and I see the news. And every time I turn on the news, I get a little sick to my stomach with the terrorism that exists out there, et cetera, et cetera. And so I worry a lot. I worry about my kids and my grandkids because I know I'm not going to be here forever to protect them, right? That's just what parents and grandparents do. So I also look, I live in California. The cost of housing in California is absurd. It's absurd. The average home is about $500,000, maybe more by now. And it really, probably in your neighborhood, in my neighborhood, you're not buying much for $500,000. So I got thinking about that. Steve Alador comes on the program as a mortgage guy. Okay, Steve, well, if my kids or my grandkids want to buy a $500,000 house, first of all, they can't live anywhere near me, and they're going to have to go to a different neighborhood, and they're going to need 20% down. Okay, so that's $100,000. And they now have a $400,000 mortgage, which is going to cost them, $2,500, $3,000, whatever it is a month with property taxes. So they need to make $10,000. So they need $100,000 down, and they need to make $10,000 a month. Now I ask you this question, Mr. Pastula: how many young people today have $100,000 and make $10,000 a month?
I haven't counted them up, but I don't think percentage-wise it's pretty low. It's tough.
There's young Bobby over there, my producer. I'm not going to ask you how much you have in the bank, but I'm going to guess, Bobby, it's not $100,000.
Under.
Under 100. Okay. I'm also going to guess you don't make $10,000 a month because you're in the radio business.
Also under.
Also under. Without disclosing how much under. But anyway, so I had this idea. For those that have some means about themselves, what do you think of this idea? I buy, my wife and I should say, because Jeannie's involved in all of these. She's involved in every decision. I don't do anything without her approval, written approval. I got to get it in writing now.
Which is why you're such a success.
Yes, exactly. Jeannie and I take out a second to die life insurance policy for $1 million, say, all right? A second to die life insurance policy, so that after the two of us are gone, there's $1 million that comes to the beneficiaries, and we name the 5 grandkids as equal beneficiaries. So after the second of us dies and we're up in heaven looking down, each of the grandkids get a check for $200,000. That'll probably be about the time that they're in their 20s or 30s. Hopefully they're in their 40s. I don't know if that'll be the case, but hopefully they will be. And they could probably use that $200,000 for the down payment on the home. I can't do much about the $10,000 a month, but I can help them with a little bit of cash. What do you think of my idea?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, but you got to know how to pay the premiums. And this is an area that I think is interesting, because when you talk to somebody about this, and it's a great idea, and the internal rate of return on the resulting benefit is always very respectable, and if you'll hurry up and die soon, it'll be incredible.
I did the math on this once before, and I said, well, what if I could buy, this is back when you could buy a 4% tax-free municipal bond. I said, so what if I bought a tax-free municipal bond instead and put all those premium dollars into a tax-free bond, which would be the equivalent, right? A 4% tax-free rate of return, which, by the way, would be really hard to get today safely. Anyway, I think it was age 94 was the break even at 4%
before you got down to 4% as a rate of return.
Before I got down to 4%. Yeah. People don't realize that life insurance policies are one heck of a good financial instrument for certain individuals.
For old people who you know, I mean, you can see on the horizon when it is that you're going to pass away.
Right.
Somebody's calling me and telling me that I
shouldn't have had your phone on while you're on national television.
But here's the way I look at it. let's say that you have $750,000 and or somewhere in that range, $750,000, $1.5 million in your portfolio, and you like the idea that you're going to leave $1 million. Well, one way or the other, for sure you're going to leave $1 million to somebody. Well, everybody thinks in terms of, okay, so I'm bringing in X dollars a month or a year in income, and now you want me to pay this $10,000 a year of taxes, of premiums,
right,
etc. And that's an awful lot of money I'm paying, and so, yeah, I'm not interested. No. You move money, you take and start drawing down that portfolio, a portion of it, each year, and putting it into the insurance policy, and you instantly create the $1 million life legacy. You instantly do that. The first time you take money out of one of your investments, if you do two things, you have a balance sheet that shows what your net worth is today, and you track that, and most of us do, and then have a legacy balance sheet. How much will be available, if everything works out and I have all the money and I don't have to decimate my portfolio because of chronic care or something of that nature, what will they have? Well, by simply making one payment, you have increased your legacy by $1 million. So, okay, so you die with a portfolio it ends up having $120,000 or $150,000 less in it because you moved into the insurance policy, but it's made up tax-free, 6 times over.
Yeah, and the point that I was making when I did the break-even analysis, because as you know, I carry this HP12C with me wherever I go. It's in my pocket 24. I sleep with it. Okay, I don't sleep with it all the time, just some of the times. I wake up in the middle of the night and I got an idea and I start doing calculations. But when you think about that, if you looked at it as part of your investment portfolio, I'm taking money out of, here's my left pocket thing, I'm taking money out of my left pocket and I'm investing it in this tax-free municipal bond that my rate of return if I die in the first year is like 1,000%. And my rate of return, if the second of us, my wife and or I, die at age 90, is 5% tax-free. That doesn't sound bad. So let's see. If I'm 65, 90 is 75, 80, it's 25 years from now. Would you buy a 25-year, 5% tax-free municipal bond? Do me a favor. Go on Yahoo right now. Go on Yahoo right now and see if you can find a AAA rated tax-free municipal bond that pays 5%. Now, you may, I don't know, I haven't gone on Yahoo and searched
I doubt
out.
it.
I doubt it too.
But don't go on now. Wait till after the show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then again, if my wife and I get in a car crash at 78, that rate of return isn't 5% tax-free. It's probably 11% tax-free. So if you think of it as part of your investment portfolio, again, this is for individuals that have surplus. We're not saying take your last nickel and buy this, but if you have a surplus in your estate, it's a pretty good way to increase your net after-tax internal rate of return for your heirs.
You would not believe the amount of life insurance that's purchased by people worth millions of dollars that literally use these accounts in a variety of ways. This is only one of them, as an alternative investment that they can commit to, put money into, and they know exactly what it's going to result in at any point in time up until the day they die. And I mean, they don't have to do this. They're worth $20 million, $50 million. And they'll buy $5, $10, $15, $20 million life insurance policies. Why? Because when you get it all done at the end of the day, the result is going to be incredibly efficient and impressive. And so,
It's an amazing thing, and this is why you go to Safe Money Monitor, because these are very, very safe, quote, with quotes around them, investments. So here's what I want you to do. Go to safemoneymonitor.com or simply call Mr. Pastula himself, 800-809-6783. But it's a lot easier. Just go to Safe Money Monitor. Gene Pastula, CFP, he monitors all those safe investments backed by insurance companies. Thank you, Gene.